Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into that Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, and it is a lovely Thursday, October 6th, 2022. I'm your host, John June. Let's get after it. I got my guy, Greg Penniman, with me, G Money.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's good, bro?
Oh, I'm chilling, man. Chilling, this Thursday night game, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good one. Denver. I mean, you don't have to keep going. We've done enough Russell Wilson. So this is Denver Colts. No JT tonight, so hopefully Naeem Hines can get it going, and hopefully some of his backups. Maybe he could get some relevance here from one of the backups, so that people added. Maybe a Philip Lindsay, a Naeem Hines. Hopefully they can come through tonight.
Yeah, we've spoken enough about the man, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Facts.
We're talking enough.
Facts.
I'm just waiting for him to play some good football so we can talk about that.
Yeah. He will. Two games in a row. The lift off.
But yes, quite interesting. Jonathan Taylor's out. Deion Jackson, Philip Lindsay was elevated. We already know Latavius Murray's not gonna play today. They felt like the trip back from London and new playbook, Thursday night, short turnaround. It was just too much to ask of the 32-year-old vet. So Mike Boone, the primary backup, make sure that man is stashed away on your roster, please.
Yes, sir.
Because especially on Thursday night, man, anything could happen. Like I did this with Chuba Hubbard 2 years ago, right? It was a Thursday night game. I'm like, let's just see what happens. And then McCaffrey goes off and, goes off the field with an injury.
Yeah.
And, Chuba Hubbard, who would have been the number one waiver guy to go after and get, it was just chilling on some of our rosters. So, we try to be a week ahead with some of this. Don't want to have to spend fab or burn that waiver priority. By the way, if you're playing with that waiver priority system 1 through 12 or 14 or how many people in your league, please think about fab. Greg, I'm going to give you the opportunity because I had to sell you on fab, and you are, from what I believe, to be pro fab. So can you just
please... Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, those leagues are it's basically as old as a non-PPR league at this point. Like that and fab just gotta go. I mean, unfortunately, we're in 2 leagues where the commissioner just doesn't want to change up. It's just people be in their old ways. So I gotta go to that fab. Like there's no reason, because if you're a good team, it's just unfortunate. You're gonna be in the 14th or the 12th spot every week. Like that's just not fair. Like
yeah, and one of the other parts to fab, which I think is really cool, and was having a conversation about this today in regards to our dynasty league that we're in. The thing about fab is like you can put in conditional bids, right? Like you can say, I'm gonna bid, for this past week, for example, like I was like, all right, I'm gonna bid on Isaiah. I have an empty spot on my roster. I'm gonna bid on Isaiah Pacheco. And then I'm going to bid on Mike Boone. And then I'm going to bid on Latavius Murray. And I put a dollar amount with each one of those players. But then I put another bid in, which was like, okay, well, let's say I get Isaiah Pacheco. Maybe I'm still willing to spend some money, right? Let me put another bid in to try to get Mike Boone to drop, another player off my roster. And now I could end up in a situation where I could really realistically walk out with all 3 running backs if I really want to. Which you could do that in the waiver priority system, but in that system, you'd have to hope that nobody else tries to claim them. Right. But with the fab system, it's more of just like, reminds me of a story of, talking to buddies from college, and one of them was like, oh man, so-and-so went for $5, like I really wanted him, and we're all like, no, you didn't, because if you really wanted him, you would have been
put up 6. Yep.
Like, you would have put, like, I really wanted Isaiah Pacheco, so I bid 17. Other people in our league, they bid 8. I bid 17. I really wanted him, so I was like, I got to do what I like. try to get them. So
literally putting your money where your mouth is, you know?
exactly. And that's what we do here every week. Put our money where our mouth is. The players that we suggest you play, we are playing them. The players we say, suggest that you pick up, we pick them up and play them. Players that we say to acquire, we are actively trying to acquire in our fantasy leagues, right? So, and it's not just fantasy, right? We talk about the games, we break down the spreads, the totals, who's going to win the game, who we believe is going to win the game. So, every week, twice a week, we do that right here. Technically 3 times a week if you want to count Thursday Night Football, which obviously we recorded yesterday live here. If you are watching live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, just make sure you like, comment, subscribe, whatever you got to do. And make sure Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, whatever podcast platform you're listening on, that you comment, like, subscribe there as well. Definitely helps the show out. But enough of all that stuff. Let's talk about some football. And I know this graphic here says 1 p.m. games, but we got a London game, Greg.
Oh, nice. Yes, sir.
9:30 in the morning. You could wake up, have your tea and crackers or crumpets, right? Tea and crumpets,
coffee,
and
whatever you want. Yeah.
whatever you want, man. And
have a beer in the morning.
This is just, I was just going to say that. This is an excuse to go into the fridge and pop open a beer, This is 9:30 in the morning. There's football on TV that kind of feels like there's, an opportunity there. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the football here. We got the 3-1 New York Giants traveling to Green Bay to take on the 3-1 Green Bay Packers. This game has a 41.5 point total, where the Green Bay Packers are 7.5 point favorites. The 3-1 Green Bay Packers are 7.5 point favorites against another 3-1 football team. Vegas is trying to tell you something about these 3-1 football teams here. The weather is okay in terms of injuries. Allen Lazard, he's limited with an ankle. They've got a bunch of other guys questionable. For the New York Giants, Daniel Jones, he's limited with the ankle, but he looks like he's on track to play. The Giants did not make any additional moves at quarterback. They actually had a quarterback that they brought in for a tryout. They sent him home. He was waiting on
Chad Powers?
Not Chad Powers. Not Chad Powers. But Richie James was a DNP with an ankle. Wan'Dale Robinson is limited with the knee. Kadarius Toney was limited in practice yesterday, but did not practice today. So there's a downgrade midweek with a hamstring. Not great. Kenny Golladay, he's dealing with an MCL sprain, did not make the trip to London, is doubtful for the game. And then cornerback Aaron Robinson was placed on injured reserve with I don't have the injury down, but he was placed on injured reserve. And then Leonard Williams, he's limited with a knee injury. In terms of this game here, Greg, give the floor to you. What do you got?
I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take the Giants to cover, but I'm going to take the Packers to win. On the Giants side, it's looking like Daniel Jones is looking like he's on track to play. Tyrod Taylor is also making the trip as well. So they do have a backup option if Daniel Jones can't go last minute. As far as the fantasy analysis, it's the same for the Giants every week. I'm starting Saquon Barkley. He's an RB1 for me, and that's about it. Daniel Jones seemed to be falling to QB1 performances a bit. So if you're really that desperate, his rushing yards can give you some safe performances. And on the Packers side, Aaron Rodgers, he is more of a high-end QB2 for me. Borderline QB1. I think this Giants defense is pretty good. So he's in that QB15, QB14 territory for me. Romeo Doubs, the receiver I want to play still in this offense. And then I'm looking at the running game for them again. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, both strong RB2s. I think Aaron Jones has that RB1 upside, as he does every week. This analysis is pretty simple for these two teams. Not the explosive offenses from the Packers that we've seen in the past. The fact that they didn't get to cover last week against the Pats, that went to a close overtime game. I think the Giants could keep it close in this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you on the game. I am taking the over, taking the Giants to cover, taking Green Bay to win. I thought about this so many different ways, right? Like the way that the fact that New England was able to cover last week on a 10
Yeah,
and a half point spread with
yeah,
their third string quarterback that
yeah.
came in like halfway through the game. It's like it almost seemed like a trap that the Packers or that the Vegas put this line out at 7.5, right? Like, and this is a
Yeah,
neutral site, so like they're not even getting points for being a home team or anything like that. Like, this is a 7.5 point spread. Like, that seems like a lot for
it
a
does.
team that just played in overtime to a team with their their third string quarterback in the Patriots. Um, but again, maybe that could have been the Patriots too. But either way, I'm taking the Giants to cover. They seem like a team with a lot of fight. I think you could make the argument out that every team that they've played against, you know, with maybe the exception of Tennessee, like you kind of expected the Giants to win that game.
Hmm.
Um, but when you look at Carolina and then they got Dallas with Cooper Rush and then last week against Chicago, they were expected to pretty much win all of those games. At least I know we expected them to win all those games. But against the Green Bay Packers, this is probably like the first game where they really feel like, oh no, like we actually aren't supposed to win this game, right?
Right,
So
right.
I think they get juiced up for that. I know they're undermanned, but I feel like that just leads on more Saquon Barkley. So, from the Giants' perspective, Saquon, I think he's got to be a top 5 play at the position. Daniel Jones, because of his rushing, he is intriguing. He was like borderline streaming option for me last week. I didn't expect him to rush for 2 touchdowns though. But you wonder with the ankle, does that limit what he does on the ground? It's a thought.
All he's got,
Um,
man.
it's really all
All
he's
he's got.
got. Because he can't, he doesn't have much by way of receiving options. I mean, Richie James, way to have your worst game like ever.
Word, man.
Like,
Word. The
we've
floor
seen
was
Richie
his.
James put up like 180 receiving yards on like
Yep. With the
Thursday night
Niners.
football with the
Yep.
Niners when like
Hmm.
there's nobody
Yep.
available, and it's like Richie James, this is your time. This is where you do what you do.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was unavailable to us. He might be unavailable to us this week. Looks like it could just be Wan'Dale Robinson out there running around, and that is actually intriguing to me because he is. If you look at this receiving corps, he is the only one that was handpicked. The first, not. I mean, they signed Richie James in free agency, but they
Hmm.
didn't invest a lot of money in him or anything like that. But Wan'Dale Robinson is this regime's guy, from GM to head coach. He's their
Right.
guy. So um, it's in the best interest of this football team that Wan'Dale Robinson has some success on the football field. I would be intrigued by him. He's like, and again, you could pick him up 9:30 in the morning, see if he's playing, if he's how he's being utilized, and if he doesn't do anything, you can drop him again, and we could reassess next week.
Hmm.
But in terms of the Packers, you know, Aaron Jones RB1, AJ Dillon low end flex, maybe RB3 option. The Giants have been solid these last few weeks defending, basically every position. Alan Lazard has wide receiver 2 upside. Romeo Dobbs, wide receiver 3-4 option. Tunyon has streaming value for sure. And then Aaron Rodgers, like he's borderline like QB1. Like I'm not like in love with playing him this week. Because like you said, the Giants, they've been a solid defense and they've been pretty good against, the quarterbacks that they have played. And I feel like they could just lean on Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. That is really not worth trying, to extract points from Aaron Rodgers in this one.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup, man. We got the 2-2 Seattle Seahawks traveling in New Orleans to take on the 1-3 New Orleans Saints. This game has a 45.5 point total, where the New Orleans Saints are 5.5 point favorites. This game is played in the dome, so no weather concerns for New Orleans. Jameis Winston, the quarterback, obviously did not practice. Doesn't look like he'll play this week. Michael Thomas was a DNP as well, dealing with a foot. Doesn't look like he's going to play this week. Alvin Kamara got a full practice in today. dealing with the rib injury. So he's believe the words came from him that he's on track to play in week 5. Michael Thomas, or I touched on Michael Thomas. Taysom Hill, he's limited with the rib injury, but he played last week. I expect him to play. Rashad Penny did not practice yesterday, dealing with a shoulder for the Seattle Seahawks. And then defensive end Darrell Johnson, he's doubtful this game with dealing with an ankle, expected to miss some time. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Seattle to cover. I will take New Orleans to win the football game. On the New Orleans side, I think Alvin Kamara, I mean, we talked about him yesterday in the Panic Room episode, Panic Room segment. I'm not putting him in the Panic Room. I actually think this is a very nice spot for him, against Seattle, who's not great against running backs. Chris Olave, I think he's a high-end wide receiver too. We obviously, he's been rolling these last 3 weeks. Andy Dalton, I think, based on his matchup, man, he's got some quarterback one upside between having a healthy Kamara, between having Chris Olave. Seattle over the last 3 weeks allows the sixth most fantasy points to the quarterback position. I think Juwan Johnson even has some intrigue at the tight end spot. Seattle, they were terrible against tight ends even before the TJ Hawkinson explosion, but now they're the easiest matchup for the position over these last 3 weeks. So I think if you were hurting at tight end, you're in deeper leagues, maybe tight end premium or 2 tight end leagues, that you might want to look at Juwan Johnson this week. And then for Seattle, Lockett and Metcalf, I think, I'm upgrading them both to like weekly wide receiver 2s right now with wide receiver 1 upside. I think they have to have that ranking for the rest of the season. This isn't a great matchup for Geno Smith, as New Orleans allows the 25th most fantasy points to quarterbacks the last 3 weeks. So I'd probably temper expectations with him this week, but he is white hot. So maybe from a DFS perspective, you roll him out there. And the Rashad Penny, also not in the best spot, but if he's going to get the volume that he got last week, then he's an RB3 flex option.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to also take Seattle to cover, but I'm going to take New Orleans to win. I believe, Michael Thomas didn't practice today. I know they put out an alert for the practicing today. James didn't go either, so don't expect those guys to be there. But definitely on Seattle side, Rashad Penny can go. I do like him as a strong RB2 option. And as far as the receivers, I'm glad to see that both Lockett and Metcalf could be relevant with Geno Smith. It's really crazy how this offense is turned around and they're letting Geno cook. I do agree with you. The Saints, though, is a pretty tough defense. They've kept a lot of low-scoring games and tough matchups. So I got both the receivers in wide receiver 2 category. I got Geno Smith more as a low borderline QB1, but more I think you're expecting to get the high in QB2 week this week. And then on the Saints side, Juwan Johnson, I agree with you. I'm having him actually in my 16-team league. He's been a solid option so far this season. Taysom Hill could possibly get some packages like last week if you're in a risky dart throw. If you want to throw him out there to try to get a goal line touchdown or some rushing yards to not kill your day. And then Chris Olave, the receiver I want to play for sure, wide receiver 2 option. Kamara, though, this is definitely the game. He's healthy. You want to see him bounce back and give you an RB1 performance. I think he definitely, this is the get right game for him for sure.
Yes, sir. All right, let's move on to this next game, man. And oh boy, we got the 1-3 Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Buffalo to take on the 3-1 Buffalo Bills. This game has a 47.5 point total, where the Buffalo Bills are 14-point home favorites. Weather is okay. Gabe Davis, full participant in practice.
There we go.
So trending in the right direction there. Dawson Knox, DNP with a foot on Wednesday. Not sure what his status was today, but he's been dealing with that for a week or two now. Jordan Poyer, DNP with a rib injury. Tremaine Edmonds, he was a DNP on Wednesday as well. So just some things to monitor there on the Buffalo side. And then for Pittsburgh, Minka Fitzpatrick, the stud safety, he's a DMP with a knee. Seems like he will go. Cam Sutton, the cornerback, is limited with a groin/hamstring. And then Cam Hayward is limited with an elbow and an ankle. Greg, where are you with this matchup here?
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the Bills to cover and the Bills to win. I'm definitely am excited that this offense is not under Mitch Trubisky anymore, under new quarterback Kenny Pickett. But this is the first start to have on the road at Buffalo, like against one of the hottest teams in the league right now. It's gonna be tough. So I definitely expect some turnovers, some interceptions, and a lot of teams haven't been covering a lot. There have been a lot of blowouts, but when the Bills are involved. So I think they do get this cover. On their side, Josh Allen, he's a QB1, top 5 play as he is every week, throwing and rushing the ball. Stephon Diggs, wide receiver 1 value. Gabe Davis, if he's ready to go, I think he's been struggling this year. He's been a lot boom or bust this year. So I have him. I'm gonna rank him. I kind of need to see him get back into the groove. I'm gonna have him as a low on wide receiver 2, more wide receiver 3 territory. I still do like Isaiah McKenzie right now in this stretch. He's been playing pretty well. So I think I have him as a flex option. And as far as the running backs, Devin Singletary is the running back I want, and playing in this offense. I think especially with the game script and everything, he's got some RB1 upside. On the Steelers side, Najee Harris, low in RB2, Pat Freiermuth, tight end 1 option. Deontay Johnson, first time in a while, he hasn't got the 10 targets or close to 10 catches, but I think he's going to be a reliable option for Pickett. So I think he's got some low end wide receiver 2 value, and that's about it for the Steelers side. But yeah, I think really I'm looking at Pat Freiermuth as the main passing option, and them to maybe get something going with Najee Harris, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, also one late addition to the injury report for the Steelers was Deontay Johnson. Added to the injury report with a hip. I'm trying to see if it was limited. Yeah, he was limited with a hip injury. So that was a new addition. Never like those midweek additions to the injury report.
Yeah, we
There's
do
no
not.
football being played in the middle of the week. So
Yeah.
how you get hurt? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to take I'm with you. I'm taking the over. I'm going to take Buffalo to cover. I'm also going to take Buffalo to win. Josh Allen, you don't need us to sit here.
There's no analysis from him anymore
To play Josh Allen, right?
right?
Stephon Diggs, right? Like you don't need to hear that. Devin Singletary, he's an RB2. He's playing some damn good football right now. I don't know why he hasn't taken over the backfield. Zach Moss looks like Zach Moss has always looked. James Cook is, he's struggling right now. That's not to say he's not going to get better, and as the game slows down for him, and eventually, like, who knows, maybe he could look like the best back by the time we get to the end of the season, right? We've seen that plenty times before. But right now, Devin Singletary is playing the best of all these running backs. So I don't know why Buffalo doesn't just turn it over to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to, as a fantasy manager, if he's continuing to be this efficient with this limited amount of volume, not limited, he's still getting a good, it's almost as if they try the rotation thing through the first quarter, the first half, and then it's like, oh no, Devin's just too good. Like these other guys, they don't have it today. And then they're like, okay, Devin, we'll just give you the rest of like that's what happened in the Baltimore game. Granted, they were down. Maybe they just trusted Devin Singletary more in those situations. But I just feel like at some point or another, he's got to take over. McKenzie, very nice option. Obviously he's dealing with the concussion. If he can't go, Khalil Shakir, the rookie, will be in line for some more ops there. So Definitely a name to note for those of you at home. But for Pittsburgh, Najee Harris, RB2 based on volume, right? Like if he doesn't get the touchdown, then he needs those receptions. He didn't get any last week, so you got 7 points. For Deontay Johnson, probably a wide receiver 3 for me. George Pickens, the targets have been there the last couple weeks, but with the rookie quarterback going into Buffalo, he's not going to be in my lineup this week. I'm going to wait another week, but just keep him stashed, especially with how bad Chase Claypool is playing. I'm pretty sure he's in a contract here too. So
oh, that's not good.
No. But Frymouth, tight end 1 for sure. He's been uber consistent. He's been like the one constant, the only good thing out of this Pittsburgh offense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The only good thing.
All right, let's move on to the next game here. We got the 2-2 Chicago Bears traveling to Minnesota to take on the 3-1 Minnesota Vikings. This game has a 43.5 point total where the Vikings are 7-point favorites. In terms of the weather's okay. David Montgomery was a DNP on Wednesday, but was upgraded to a limited participant in practice today. So that is good news for Montgomery managers out there. Probably not great news for the Herbert managers. Cody Whitehair, the center, he was placed on injured reserve with a knee injury. And then for Minnesota, Zadarius Smith, the edge player linebacker, is questionable for this game. I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to take Minnesota to cover as well as win this game. I'm going to assume, David Montgomery is a tough guy. I feel like this happens every time with David Montgomery. There's like a timeline, and then he beats it by like 2-3 weeks. Like this.
Yeah, bro. He's a beast when getting on the field.
Like it's absurd. It happens every single year. He gets this it's like, remember, was it 2 years ago? It was like 4 to 6 weeks, and the dude was back in 3 weeks. Like it was crazy. But yeah, I don't think he goes this week, but the matchup is really good for Khalil Herbert. Very nice spot here against Minnesota. Need to see more from the Bears pass offense if I'm gonna get tricked into playing any of them. Dalvin Cook. This matchup is really good. Like if it was, other team, insert team X, like I would probably be willing, but because it's
other than the Giants.
Nah, I would play Daniel Jones.
Oh yeah, well yeah, Daniel Jones. Yeah,
Daniel Jones doesn't Fields. Yeah. Like so it's crazy. But on the Minnesota side, Dalvin Cook, very nice spot here against the Chicago defense. J. Jeff, he's going to be in your lineup. The usage was fantastic last week. I'm hoping that we get more consistency week to week. And then Cousins, he's a borderline QB2.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Bears to cover. I'm gonna take the Vikings to win. I'm with you on the Viking side. Kirk Cousins, I think he's in a good spot here to bounce back. From last couple of weeks been struggling a little bit, but I think he gets a borderline QB1 week here. Dalvin Cook, he's able to go. I think he's RB1 upside here in this matchup. J. Jeff should come back to last week he balled out. I think he just can continue to get that consistent top 5 weeks at the wide receiver position as well. Irv Smith Jr. is going to be Irv Smith Jr. Going to give you maybe 5 to 6 points. On the Bears side, it's David Montgomery, and that's it. Whichever running back is starting the game, pretty much is who I'm playing, and that's about it. Yeah, for sure. Minnesota's defense is getting a little better, so they should create some turnovers.
So David Montgomery is limited all week, and then is active on Sunday.
I think if they're activating him, they're gonna make him. They're
gonna play him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to this next game here. We got the 3-1 Houston Texans traveling to Jacksonville to take on the 2-2 Jacksonville Jaguars. We have a 44.5 point total here in this matchup, where the Jacksonville Jaguars are 7-point favorites In terms of weather, there are no weather concerns. Actually, there's no concerns about weather in any of these games this weekend from what I saw, or my early assessment of a weather report. But for Houston, in terms of injuries, Blake Cashman, he was a DNP with a concussion. Brevin Jordan was a DNP with an ankle, and then Derek Stingley was a DNP with an arm injury, the cornerback there for the Houston Texans, and they're for the 3rd overall pick. And then for Jacksonville, defensive tackle Foley Fatukasi, he's questionable with a quad. And then Zay Jones, the wide receiver, is questionable with an ankle. Greg, what say you?
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Jacksonville to cover and Jacksonville to win. As far as the Texan side, Damien Pierce definitely has emerged as a strong, RB2 option. I think he has RB1 upside every week at this point with his usage. I think Rex Burkhead has some PPR value, getting close to maybe 5 catches. I think that's, if you're going to play him, that's what you are kind of expecting from him. So if you're hurting at running back, maybe you lost Cordell Patterson, maybe you don't have JT, like someone like me, you're hopefully maybe playing Rex Burkhead as a desperation play, but Damien Pierce is the guy. Brandon Cooks, he is in that, I think, low end wide receiver 2 territory right now. More wide receiver 3. Hopefully he can get going in this offense, as he did last year and on a struggling team, but he got most of the targets and everything. And then on the Jaguar side, Trevor Lawrence, QB1 upside. James Robinson, love his matchup this week, actually. I think he's an RB1 this week as well. Christian Kirk, wide receiver 1. I think those 3 guys are gonna carry this offense. And yeah, if Zay Jones can't play, I think Jamal Agnew has, again, some good flex upside.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under, taking Jacksonville to cover, Jacksonville to win. Damien Pierce, I think he's an RB1 again this week. He's rolling, and the matchup here is really good. So yeah, fire him up. Cooks hasn't been great, but Jacksonville seems like, Jacksonville seems like a strong defense. They allow the 25th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position over these last 3 weeks. Yeah, so you could put him out there as a wide receiver 3 flex option, but I'm not expecting much upside. I think Rex Burkhead has RB3 flex value. Like you were saying, I think he should be in line for some catches. For Jacksonville, James Robinson, this is a great spot. Houston allows the 2nd most fantasy points to running backs over these last 3 weeks. Christian Kirk, a wide receiver 2. Zay Jones, probably a wide receiver 3. I think you can get away with playing Trevor in this matchup. But if you don't have the space to pick up another quarterback, or you don't want to drop him, but I don't think he's maybe going to come with the upside that maybe we saw a couple weeks ago against the Chargers. Somebody asked me earlier today, Aaron Rodgers or Trevor Lawrence.
I think we want Trevor.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup. The 3-1 Miami Dolphins travel to MetLife to take on the 2-2 New York Jets. This game has a 44.5 point total, where the Miami Dolphins are 3.5 point road favorites. In terms of the weather, we're still okay on that front. In terms of injuries, Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has already been ruled out. He was ruled out, I think, over the weekend with the concussion. Xavier Howard, questionable with a groin, did not practice on Wednesday. Jalen Waddle was also questionable with a groin and did not practice on Wednesday. A late addition to the injury report would be star receiver Tyreek Hill, who's dealing with a quad injury. Trying to see if he practiced today. He was a limited participant dealing with that quad. So they're a little banged up there. And then for the New York Jets, left tackle George Fant, he was placed on IR last week. Linebacker Quincy Williams, he is doubtful with a high ankle sprain. Breece Hall, the rookie running back, is limited with a knee injury. I think Coach Saleh for the, Robert Saleh coined it as nicks and bruises that he's dealing with. So it sounds like he'll be okay. Zach Wilson, he was a full participant today dealing with an ankle injury. And then Max Mitchell, the right tackle, is doubtful with a knee injury. I went back and forth on this game, but I'm going to take the over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the Jets to cover. And I'm also going to take the Jets to win.
Ooh.
I went back and forth, man. I really did. But we'll get into it. For, Miami side, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they're obviously going to be in your lineup. Teddy Bridgewater, he has streaming value in this matchup here. The Jets over these last 3 weeks give up the 13th most fantasy points to the quarterback position. Hard to pinpoint which running back we're going to see, who's going to get the most volume, but the matchup is good. So I think you can lean on both of them as running back threes. It's going to really come down to who gets that touchdown. For the Jets, Miami is allowing the most fantasy points to the quarterback position over the last 3 weeks. Granted, that was against Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen,
Joe Burrow.
and Joe Burrow. So, but they have been banged up in the secondary. So I think Wilson does have a solid QB, a solid day and could be an option in 2 quarterback leagues. More specifically, though, I like the wide receivers, especially Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore, mainly because the Dolphins run a lot of man-to-man coverage. It's a lot of zero, a lot of cover one, and Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson both excel at beating man-to-man coverage. So I like both of them to have a good day in this one. And the Breece Hall takeover is here. So start him as an RB1 option. I don't think you can play Michael Carter unless you're desperate like I am in our League of Extraordinary People, where he literally has not left my starting lineup since draft day. And Tyler Conklin is in a good spot as well. Should definitely be treated as a tight end one.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the Dolphins to cover, and actually I'm going to take the Jets to cover, but the Dolphins to win. So I do think it's a 3-point game, but I think the Dolphins get it done in the end. I agree with you though on the Dolphins side. Teddy Bridgewater is my stream of the week there, so I think he definitely has some streaming value. Can have a good day. Maybe got some boom value with those receivers, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, must start options, both of them. The running game, it is tricky. It's really no one has the edge over the other right now. I think the edge goes to the one with that touchdown. So I'm with you on that. On the Jets side, love the receivers here. Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. I would think if there's going to be get right for Elijah Moore, it's got to be in this week. The secondary for the Dolphins has been pretty bad. Tyler Conklin is going to get great matchup as well. So he has some great tight end one value here, and Breece Hall is just going to continue to keep booming and keep rising up. I feel like his fantasy points have just been increasing every week. His touches and opportunities have been increasing every week. So he's becoming RB1 and league winner value right now. So love to see it. So if you have all these, the talent around Zach Wilson should have some streaming value as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he's definitely made his way into some of my DFS lineups for the week. 5,300 on DraftKings. So I'm taking my shot.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the next game here. The 2-2 Atlanta Falcons travel to Tampa Bay to take on the 2-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game has a 48.5 point total, where the Tampa Bay Bucks are 8-point favorites. In terms of weather, again, no concerns there. Greg, I think this is the week you might not have to play Kyle Pitts.
Word, Tyler. This is the matchup though. Tampa Bay is not that good. Oh man, against tight ends.
I know, but then we can't put him in the lineup, bro.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's hurt, right?
He was a DNP 2 days in a row with dealing with a hamstring. So not good.
Dag, yo, I was ready. I was like,
I was
oh man,
ready.
this might be the week. This might be the week.
I was start of the week ready.
Oh,
I was ready, but looking tricky there with Kyle Pitts dealing with the hamstring. Cordero Patterson, he was placed on injured reserve there. So that's definitely, obviously the Falcons are have to find alternatives in the backfield, which they already have present. Damian Williams is eligible to return from injured reserve soon. So he did start out the year as the starting running back. So, tight end Cameron Brate for Tampa Bay. He's DNP with a concussion. He's actually a guy where he's available in leagues. Like this matchup is good for him as well. If he can go this week, like he's a plug. He's like a pickup, plug and play tight
yeah, I
end.
agree.
In my
He just
opinion,
finished games. He would be right there with like the Tyler Conklin's, like the guys Hayden Hurst's. Like he just never finishes games.
All the wide receivers except for Mike Evans, they're all questionable. So Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Brashad Perriman, and Russell Gage are all questionable with something on their lower extremity, but they all practice in limited fashion. Cole Beasley retired.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Did you hear the reason?
He wanted to make another mixtape?
No.
No.
He wants to spend more time with his wife and his kids, and this came a day after the Tom Brady report.
That's tough. Oh man, I mean, that's tough, man. He was spending time with that makes sense because he's spending time with him because no one signed him, and then he probably got that call, and then he probably got that. Yeah.
I saw somebody on Twitter was like, I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was, so I can't even give you credit, but they were like, Cole Beasley saw Tom Brady fumble Giselle and was like, nah, bro.
Oh man, that's brutal.
So yeah, Tom Brady is dealing with a right shoulder and right finger. So he says he's gonna play. So it is what it is. It's Tom Brady, right?
Brady's gonna play. He's gonna play.
Yeah, he says he's gonna play. Greg, where are you with this lineup here?
I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Tampa to cover and Tampa to win. On Tampa side, Tom Brady's in an excellent spot here, though. If he's going to go, he's started the week conversation for me for sure. So I think you got to play him. You got to play his receivers that are healthy. Mike Evans for sure is hot right now. He's top 5 play right with him. Chris Godwin, I think if all the guys are going to go, it's Mike Evans for me, and then Godwin, then probably Russell Gage and Brate. Brate, I think, has some streaming value at tight end though if he's able to go. Because he's definitely been targeted when he's in. And then the running game, Leonard Fournette, and then Rashad White, I think, is going to continue to have some RB3 value as his usage goes up throughout the year. And if Leonard Fournette gets banged up, that's an instant plug and play RB1 possibly right there. So you're playing Leonard Fournette for sure. I think he's got some good value in this one. On the Atlanta side, it's definitely going to be tough. This Buccaneers defense, I know they played Mahomes last week. Mahomes just did something special. I still think this Buccaneers defense is pretty good. So I think it's going to be tough for them, especially without two of their best players, Kyle Pitts and Cordell Patterson. I don't think I'm really willing to really reach and play anyone except for desperate to play the running backs, Aguilar and Huntley. So to give you some RB3, hopefully RB2 upside.
Hey man, some people out there are desperate.
That's what I'm saying. Me too, man. I'm about to play Huntley, man.
Yeah. In terms of this matchup, I'm with you 100%, taking the under, taking Tampa to cover, Tampa to win. In terms of the Tampa Bay side, Tom Tom Brady, this is a beautiful spot for him.
Mhm.
I'm glad that we are on the same page, and now I know that I can't pick Tom Brady as my start of the week potentially because that's probably where I was leaning. Um, Tampa Bay, Atlanta allows the 12th most fantasy points to the quarterback position in the last 3 weeks, and he, like we said, is trending up with all his weapons being healthy. Mike
Mhm.
Evans got to be treated as a wide receiver one. I mean, he's still scoring touchdowns. Chris Godwin should definitely be more involved, so I see him as wide receiver two. Julio and Russell Gage, I think they're kind of on standby. I know Julio got dropped in some leagues, so
He did. Yeah, I did see
yeah.
that.
But this is the Julio revenge game.
Oh man.
And you know Tom Brady's not one of those like he's like, oh no, we're gonna get you a touchdown today.
Yeah, yeah. He's the one to like really force feed it. Like he will
Yeah,
force feed the ball to you if he
yeah.
wants you to have a good game.
Oh man, this is the Julio revenge game. Okay. That changes the analysis. I think Julio has got to be in flex conversation. I'm just saying.
If he goes, yeah, I think he's
If he goes, I mean he played
yeah.
last week. He was on a snap count, it looked like, shuttling in and out, but I feel
Mm.
like yeah. And then we talked about Cameron Brate, intriguing tight end streaming option if he can go, but like we said, he's dealing with a concussion. Uh, and then on the Atlanta side, Tampa Bay has been getting roasted by tight ends. So if Kyle Pitts can go, I love the matchup here for him. Drake London, I think he's got to be in your lineup. You know, last week was his first bad week. He's still a wide receiver too. I think, Tampa Bay, despite despite what they did last week against Kansas City, is still 24th. Think about that. They gave up a ton of points last week, and they're still 24th the last 3 weeks into position and fantasy points allowed to the running backs. I'm not excited to play these running backs, but like we said, if you are hurting, you need volume. You just need a guy that's going to go in there and get you, 11 touches and might fall into 10 points. Then by all means, play these guys. But yeah, Mark Mariota, you don't exist to me here anymore.
Yeah, I think what you Drake London is the guy though for sure still.
Yeah. We do have a question from Calvo. We'll take it. What's up, y'all? Pick two PPR. Najee, CEH, Brandon Cooks. Greg, I'll let you go first.
I think if I'm ranking them, I think you got to go with CEH one right now. I think just his touchdown presence right now. I think he's really like you can't you got to ride that. You have to ride that right now. That he's going to get a touchdown and then he's getting used in the red zone and he's on the one of the most explosive offenses in the league. After that, I think it's tough. I'm gonna have to go PPR league. I think I'm gonna go Najee. It's a tough one though, but I think I'm gonna go Najee.
Yeah, I'm with you. Those are the two I'm taking.
Yeah,
CH definitely is in your lineup.
yeah.
Najee and Brandon Cooks. I lean Najee slightly.
Running back is it's easier for a Najee to get more points. I think. Yeah.
Exactly, right. Like he's going to at least touch the ball 15, 16 times.
Right.
Maybe one of those ends up being a touchdown. Maybe he gets some receptions. So yeah, you just have to go with Najee at that point.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question, Calvo. We will move on to the next game. Sorry, my show sheet was a little out of order here, but the 1-3 Detroit Lions traveling to New England to take on the 1-3 New England Patriots. This game has a 46.5-point total, where the Patriots are 3-point favorites. No weather concerns in terms of injuries. TJ Hawkinson was DNP Wednesday with the hip, or did return to practice. DJ Shark was DNP with an ankle. Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, both held out of practice. Swift with the shoulder, St. Brown with the ankle. They do have a bunch of other guys questionable. In New England, Jacoby Myers did return to a limited practice, as did quarterback Mac Jones. Myers dealing with a knee, Jones dealing with the ankle. In terms of this game here, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take New England to cover. I'm going to take New England to win. For Detroit side, Jamal Williams, I think he's got to be once again an RB1 option. The volume, the red zone work, that should all be there. So he's going to be in your lineup, even if the matchup is looks rough on paper. Jared Goff may not be forced, to score as many points this week with the Patriots, but New England was already allowing the 8th most fantasy points to the quarterback position the last 3 weeks, and he's got another, maybe he's got another QB1 week ahead of him with the, them being down and projecting him to lose. But if you do lose, that could also mean that you did something bad to lose potentially. But yeah, the matchup is still good. 8th most fantasy points quarterback, so whatever. TJ Hawkinson, another good matchup for him. And again, may not have Swift or Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that same formula that applied last week, you can probably copy and paste it again. Don't expect 39.5 PPR points. And then for New England, I think you play the running backs for sure. I mean, both running backs, they're both RB2s with RB1 upside. The wide receivers, they should all be in line to make a play, but it really comes down to who the quarterback is. If it's Mac Jones, I probably feel a little bit more confident putting a Jacoby Myers or a Nelson Aguilar into my lineup. But if it's Bailey Zapp at quarterback, it becomes very risky. But again, the matchup is delicious.
Very, very. I'm gonna take the over as well. New England to cover, New England to win. On Detroit side, I think you got to keep riding the Jared Goff wave as well. I mean, this man is Fantasy Pros is QB7 on the year so far, so he's been pretty solid as a streaming quarterback, and I think a startable one in 12-team formats. So I think he's got some borderline QB1 value. Jamal Williams, RB1 upside. TJ Hawkinson, tight end one for sure, especially if Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift can't go, like you're saying. As far as the ancillary receiver, I think Josh Reynolds is in play. If those guys can't go, he's been doing pretty well the last couple weeks. So if Jared Goff is, he's got to get the ball to someone besides Hawk. I think Josh Reynolds is a flex play. On the Pat side, the running backs, I agree with you. Ramondre Stevenson is tuning up. I think he's starting to take a little more control and looking a little better. So I think he's got the RB1 upside. Damien Harris is also an RB2 play though as well. And then Detroit's defense is just so bad. I mean, they've been one of the best offenses in the league, and they're still 1-3. So I think Aguilar is also in flex value play, just like Josh Reynolds. So I think if you're, look Sunday morning looking for some receivers, Josh Reynolds, Nelson Aguilar could be some ads.
Yeah, can't believe I didn't mention Josh Reynolds because we definitely mentioned him last week before his nice game.
Yes, sir.
On Sunday. But that's why there's two of us. So
we got us covered. We got us covered, the people, and we got us covered.
There we go. Let's move on to the next one. The 3-1 Tennessee Titans traveling to Washington to take on the 1-3 Washington Commanders. This game has a 42.5 point total where the Tennessee Titans are 2.5 point road favorites. In terms of weather, we're okay. In terms of injuries, Tennessee safety, Amani Hooker, limited with a concussion. Zach Cunningham, DNP with an elbow. Traylon Burks, doubtful with a toe injury. For Washington, Brian Robinson, who was obviously, for those that may not know, but was shot in an armed robbery attempt, was activated designated to return from the NFI list and has returned to practice. Apparently had a big run today in practice, so things looking good for him and his prospects. Jahan Dotson, DNP with a hamstring, and then Curtis Samuel, DNP with an illness. In terms of this matchup, Greg, where are you going?
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Tennessee to cover and Tennessee to win. On the Tennessee side, Derrick Henry, RB1, he's back. I know I was a little bit panicking. He say he's going to be RB2. I'll take that back, man. This man is Derrick Henry. I don't know why I have a doubt of him. He's an RB1 every week. So you roll him out there. Robert Woods, I think, is in a good spot, a great spot here, actually, especially Traylon Burks dealing with his toe injury. Robert Woods is definitely back, and I think he's a great play against this Washington defense who's been struggling a lot against wide receivers. So, yeah, definitely roll him out there. for the Washington Commander side, the running backs. Running back Antonio Gibson. I think he's a little RB2 play. As far as the receivers, I think the receivers as well has a good value. I just got the message that Curtis Samuel didn't practice today with an illness. So if he can't go, you're playing him. If he can't go, I think that gives Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson both a boost to give you some wide receiver 2 upside.
Dawson's not
Dotson,
going.
man, it might just be scary Terry season, baby. That's what I like to see. So, he put him out there. Tennessee's definitely been struggling against wide receivers as well. So yeah, it should be a fun game actually between these two. Maybe high scoring.
Yo, I've been saying since yesterday, like there's something about this game. There's something about this game.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I'm with you. I'm taking the over, taking Tennessee to cover, taking Tennessee to win. And I gotta defend you, bro. Like you didn't say you weren't concerned about Derrick Henry per se. You were concerned about the Titans.
Yeah, I was.
You were saying if the Titans aren't good, that means Derrick Henry might not have some of these opportunities, but he's still the man,
Yeah.
He wasn't. It's like a little role reversal. I had to, pull you off the Derrick Henry ledge this time because usually it's me that needs to get pulled off the ledge. So, yeah, Tennessee, Tannehill, obviously my stream of the week. Washington allows the 5th most fantasy points to the quarterback position over the last 3 weeks. This is why y'all have to watch on YouTube because y'all don't see the facial expressions when Greg was talking about Robert Wood. And I'm like, oh man, there goes another start of the week, right? So Robert Woods been rolling as he gets farther removed from that ACL injury. Washington allows the 2nd most fantasy points to the wide receiver position over these last 3 weeks. So definitely like him to have a good game here. Derrick Henry getting some really nice usage. Continue to roll him out there as an RB1. He's getting pass game work right now. Like, gotta love that. On the Washington side, they also have good matchups. Like, it's like these two teams mirror each other in a sense.
Yeah.
Wentz, he can finish as a quarterback 1. Tennessee, I believe, gives up the 7th most fantasy points to the quarterback position over the last 3 weeks. Curtis Samuel. I know he's dealing with an illness, don't know what that's doing to game planning and things like that. But if he can go, I think he's a wide receiver 1. I like Terry. I think Terry has a bounce back game, kind of just like what you were saying. If Curtis Samuel can't go or is limited, we already know Dotson won't be able to go. So I think it's got to be a Terry week.
Yeah.
Also means that Logan Thomas, could be discount. A discount TJ Hawkinson in terms of getting all this volume, this leftover volume that might be available with the absence of Dotson and maybe the limitations on Curtis Samuel. Antonio Gibson has been trending down, and Brian Robinson could make his return in week 5. So I don't think I'm gonna play either Gibson or Robinson. It's tough. I mean, in this running back economy, it's probably tough not to play Gibson if you've been holding out without Brian Robinson for this long. I think you can continue to do that. Don't know how involved he'll be in his first game back. J.D. McKissick could be an option if they do end up needing to throw the football. I do anticipate them being down in this game and having a back and forth nature to it. And again, with the limit those touches that Curtis Samuel gets, like those are like running back touches. And you look at the next person available to do that, that's probably McKissick.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. McKissick definitely gives more of a upgrade of Rex Burkhead kind of. So I like it.
Definitely. Let's move on to the last matchup that we're covering today. Actually, we do have a question. 4-Odd Geek Life says, good evening, Damien Harris or Damien Pierce?
The 2 Damiens.
2 Damiens. One is probably better than the other. I'm going with Pierce, man.
Yeah.
Like the matchup is good. He's been hot these last couple of weeks in terms of the usage. Damien Harris, he could literally coming into a situation where he's not even the number one running back on his team
Yep.
this week. I'm going Pierce.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, exactly. Damien Pierce.
All right. Back to this game here where the 2-2 LA Chargers travel to Cleveland, take on the 2-2 Cleveland Browns. This game has a 47.5-point total where the LA Chargers are 3-point favorites. In terms of the weather, we're okay here. In terms of injuries, Myles Garrett for Cleveland, the defensive end, returned to practice after missing last week as a result of injuries he suffered in a car accident. David Njoku, who was DNP Wednesday with knee and dealing with some rest, dealing with a knee issue and getting some rest. And then Harrison Bryant was a DNP with an illness. Jadeveon Clowney was a DNP with an ankle. For the Chargers, Josh Palmer limited with an ankle injury. Keenan Allen DNP with a hamstring. And then Rashawn Slater, I know we touched on these last week, but just want to remind people, Rashawn Slater, left tackle for the Chargers, is out. He's on injured reserve with a bicep injury, and Joey Bosa, the defensive end, is on injured reserve with a groin. So I'm going to take the over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take Cleveland to cover. I'm going to take
Okay.
Cleveland to win the game. For Cleveland, Nick Chubb is an RB1. He's in a smash spot here. We saw what Damien Pierce did last week. Nick Chubb is going to go wild on the Chargers, man. He could even be the RB1 on the week. Kareem Hunt, he has RB1 upside as well. If this game does turn in a direction of maybe a shootout and back and forth nature to it. Brissett, again, in a good spot. He was solid last week. I mean, last week was a good quarterback week overall.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he was still solid, still scored 16 points. So I think that, you can roll him out there in a matchup here against the Chargers where they have not been great against opposing quarterbacks. Amari Cooper, I do like him to bounce back this week after the dud he put up last week. David Njoku, he had a mediocre game. I think he has, a bounce back game here. And then for the Chargers, Justin Herbert going to be in your lineup. I think Eckler continues to his bounce back from last week. Obviously not going to score 3 touchdowns every week, but I think the usage was good enough to where you'll be satisfied with his output this week. Mike Williams, a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside, and then Gerald Everett is a tight end 1 option.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over as well, but I'm gonna take the Chargers to win and the Chargers to cover. This is gonna be a wild close game though. Seems like the Chargers are just used to doing those types of games. On the Brown side, I do think Jacoby Brissett does have some streaming value as well. I love the running backs here. Agree with you, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Nick Chubb having the higher upside, being an RB1 bona fide every week. Amari Cooper, it's got to be the main guy that Jacoby Brissett's going to look to. He's going to lead the team in targets most likely and receptions. So he is a strong wide receiver 2 for me. And David Njoku, just a lot of other tight ends in the league, but you're playing him, especially if you need some help, because in an offense that picking the over a high scoring game, David Njoku could find the end zone and get some catches. On the Chargers side, Herb starting, must start. Eckler must start. Especially if Keenan Allen cannot go, Mike Williams is a must start as well. Has wide receiver 1 upside every week, but hopefully he's not going to trend how he's up and down. Hopefully he can get 2 consecutive up weeks. So this will hopefully be a great week for him. Gerald Everett, I like him as a solid tight end, low and tight end 1 as well. And if Keenan Allen can go, I mean, DeAndre Carter has the opportunity to really have some value here. Had a down week last week, but I'm gonna continue to keep my eye on him for some flex conversation. But I'm gonna wait and see.
Yeah, it's tough with Carter because he hasn't seen more than like 4 targets or something like that in the game.
Yeah.
So it's hard to bank on. You're really banking on big plays. It should be an intriguing game. I really do like this game as well.
Yeah.
Before we close this out, we do have one question from our guy Dat Boy Caden 5, who has asked questions before, has been on the stream. So
Appreciate
definitely,
it.
yeah, appreciate that. Enjoying it. He says, enjoying the stream. James Conner or Cortland Sutton at my flex in a full PPR.
Oh, yeah, Cortland Sutton's gonna ball tonight. He's gonna ball out tonight. I'm loving Cortland Sutton every week more and more. He seems to have the most chemistry with Russell Wilson right now, the healthy receiver right now. So, yeah, Judy's gonna have a solid game as well. But yeah, Cortland Sutton's that guy.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree with that. Sutton's got to be the guy. James Conner has been disappointing. They play Philly, who's obviously Philly's been really they've been doing a bang up job on defense. Arizona's been basically terrible on offense. So yeah, it's got to be Sutton. Greg said over 100 yards. I said 60 and a touchdown. So that means you're getting 100 and a touchdown. So yeah,
His over under in FanDuel is 63.5. I checked that too. So
yeah. So
might get that back.
but also maybe I should just bump it to 65. We'll just say 65
Okay,
because
okay,
it'll give people
yeah.
that you can go ahead and take the over.
Yeah.
But just Caden, just make sure you please do us a favor. Do not put Cortland Sutton in your flex. Move him to that wide receiver slot because he plays tonight. And he says appreciate it. So with that being said,
Always.
y'all, we very much appreciate y'all hanging with us on this. And not Monday. Did I say Monday? It's Saturday. We'll catch y'all on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Catch y'all on Saturday. Caden, we're saying you got to put either Diggs or Mike Evans in the flex.
Yeah. So then you can have something to work with. Yep.
Something in the wide receiver spot. What if Evans, what if he catches whatever these other Tampa Bay receivers are catching and gets injured? Well, that's not going to be good for you. And I know you want to win that matchup, man. And you want to lose some flexibility. So
yeah, it seems like you have a good team. So
you have a very, very solid spot. Mm-hmm. Diggs, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton. You're talking about flexing James Conner and Cortland Sutton. That's a good problem to have. All right, y'all. We'll catch y'all later, man. We much appreciate it. We'll catch y'all on Saturday morning. We break down the rest of these games about the start of the week and play some get money. With that being said, have a good one, everybody, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
Yeah.